the meeting to order. I'd like to call the Tuesday, August 20th, 2019 City of Oldsmar City Council meeting to order. The first two items on the agenda. Sorry about that. The first two items on the agenda is our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Our invocation will be led by our city attorney, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by a guest tonight from Boy Scout Troop 407 Eastlake. Please rise.
Our Heavenly Father, we pray this evening for the members of our armed forces serving abroad. We ask for their safety and that they are returned to their homes and loved ones as soon as their duties permit. Give comfort to their families and friends in their absence, and help us remember the sacrifices that they are making. This we pray. Amen.
Amen. He's making his way. Go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
My name is Stephen Vautier from Boy Scout Troop 407 in Eastlake, Florida.
And you're earning 2 badges tonight.
Yes, sir.
All right, lead on.
Go ahead.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job.
Well done.
Well done. Well, welcome, everyone. We have a full house, a lot of exciting things happening tonight. About 5 minutes, or right as I was walking out the door, knowing that we're installing some folks here tonight for some pretty important stuff, important posts, I heard our fire engine going by, and I'm going, oh, no one's going to make it.
I heard
So
it
hopefully everything's all right. Before I jump into the Citizens Open Forum, we do have a couple guests here that I would like to recognize. And if somebody else has joined us that I am not aware of, I apologize. We have our former fire chief, Mr. Dean O'Neill, who is here. Where's Dean at? And as typical for Dean, he's outside.
He's back there. He's back there.
Oh, you didn't stand up.
It's all right.
Did you stand up? What did I say?
I said O'Neill.
Oh, O'Neill. Sorry. Oh, I see. Okay. And we also have former Mayor Jerry Beaverland. The agenda is the Citizens Open Forum. I would ask that you hold any comments you have as it relates to item 13, which is a public hearing. The rules are, you can please state your name, your address. You can talk about anything that is on tonight's agenda, and you have 5 minutes to do so. At this time, I will start on this side of the room. Is there anybody who would like to address the council? Seeing none, I'll go to the other side of the room. Is there anyone? We have one. Tom, come on up. Good
Tom
evening.
Price, 418 Arlington Avenue East. This is not easy for me to do. I'm not happy about it, but I would like to express my concerns or opinion. As a 10-year resident and member of this community that we dearly love, I want to take issue with what I thought was an over-protracted and needlessly personal attack on another resident of Oldsmar by a city council member. I feel the council members' comments went above and beyond reasonable objection, and I found them very unprofessional to a citizen applying for a voluntary alternate position to help make our city better. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on the Open Citizens Forum? Seeing that, I'm going to close that. The next item on the agenda is the Community Minute, which will be led by our City Clerk, Ann Nixon.
Pinellas County Mobile Household Electronics and Chemical Collection is Saturday, August 24th from 9 to 2. It's going to be at Countryside High School. Holiday closures, Monday, September 2nd. We're not going to be here. Labor Day will all be closed, and then we'll be back to normal hours on the 3rd. Drive Electric Tampa Bay is coming up Saturday, September 21st from 9 to 1. It'll be in front of Oldsmar City Hall. And for more information, you can go visit driveelectrictb.com. And of course, tomorrow, because we love to meet, we'll be back here at 4 o'clock for another work session on the town center. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of additional new agenda items. New items, item 4, item 9, And the chair would also like to add, at the request of our city manager, I'd like to add item 4A, authorize the city manager to enter negotiations with Cohen Realty, Inc. for the purpose of entering into a development agreement for city-owned property in the community redevelopment area.
So
Chair will
moved.
entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Next item on the agenda, awards and recognition. The first item is presentation of Council Manager Award for August 2019, and that will be presented by Councilmember Norris.
This is great to see this full house. Some of y'all might wonder why I chose a family to nominate and to give this council manager award to, and it'll become clear when I go over some of their accomplishments. I couldn't just pick one, and Kathy and I were talking about it, and we think that it might be a first for the city of Oldsmar that an entire family is getting it. Now, I have to read some of this because I don't want to mix any of it up. The Nolan family is an outstanding example of citizens who believe in civic engagement. I'm a little nervous. I'm not usually nervous, but I'm nervous now. Their commitment to making this world a better place is an example to us all. Patrick and Vicky have been married for 34 years. They moved their family from Tampa to Oldsmar in 2004. Their children, Austin, Savannah, Riley, Shane, Cole, McKenna, Austin, Savannah, Riley, Shane, Cole, and McKenna. Oh, I did get it right. They range in age from 20 to 30. They were all born in St. Joseph Hospital in Tampa, and they all are very engaged in things, which I'll highlight just a few. Patrick and Vicky taught their kids, if you want to change something, you make it change. It starts in your hometown. It starts with local politics. When each turned 18, they said to each kid, you're 18 now, you can vote, now go vote. But they didn't tell them what to vote for, what issues to stand for. They didn't tell them what to do. They just wanted them to be engaged. And they're kind of among the elite where they vote in everything. Primaries, midterms, municipal, presidential. So that kind of sets them apart a little bit. Their contributions to the community doesn't stop there. Every one of them engage and volunteer their time. They serve their country in more ways than I can mention in the time that I have now. Vicky is one of 6 children as well, and she was raised with the same philosophy that they've passed on to their children. Patrick's father, Tom, so I'm going to go back one more generation, because Patrick's father, Tom, was the head of the Republican Party in Michigan, and he worked with Senator, then President Gerald Ford, President Jimmy Carter, Mikhail Gorbachev, Tony Dungy. No, that's farther on. He worked all over with all of these dignitaries. And George Romney, it was George Romney is Mitt Romney's father. Okay. He was also his city's treasurer. He served on multiple boards and helped transform his town for the better. They lived in the Palm Harbor area, the Palm Harbor Oldsmar area, dating back to the early 70s. Patrick, in different capacities, have also worked with all of those same dignitaries. Tony Dungy, Mikhail Gorbachev. I mean, the list is just I can't even name all of them. And all of these kids have or still are employed at Oldsmar businesses, including Empower Adventures, Tim Drum, Jack Willie's, Oldsmar Elementary, and I know I'm missing some, sorry guys, I know I am. Austin traveled from the age of 17 to 21 with his father. Then he did it on his own, doing video production for a national motivational speaking tour, working with a lot of those same dignitaries. Savannah is a 4th grade teacher at Oldsmar Elementary, and she also interned at Oldsmar Elementary, and she just got back from Slovakia. Was that this summer? That was just now, right? Just a few days ago, where she worked at a summer camp teaching English to kids. Riley, is Riley here? Oh, he is here. Okay, so Riley is an EMT for Sunstar, and he was named EMT of the Year for all of Pinellas County in 2017. And he's up for the same honor this year, right? Just got a promotion. Okay, well, that's good. He was also a Navy Sea cadet in high school. Shane, also a Navy Sea cadet, is now in the Navy. Both Riley and Shane, while attending Eastlake High School, did an internship at our very own Oldsmar Fire and Rescue when Dean was at the helm. And Shane told me that Renee and Jason and Dean and Kenny, all y'all could probably tell me some pretty funny stories about that. So I think it's kind of cool that you guys are here when this is happening. Cole and McKenna are both full-time students at USF. Go Bulls. And they both work for the Good Samaritan Project in connection with the Archdiocese of St. Petersburg for the past 4 years. They are youth leaders doing good works in the Tri-County area, such as working with the homeless and painting low-income folks' homes. So these are only some of their accomplishments. Their parents didn't make them do any of these, but they did engage them early as small children. They took them to Pinellas County commission meetings, to school board meetings, where they advocated for things that they believed in. So here's hoping one of y'all is going to be a future mayor of Oldsmar. So I think one of the things that is most impressive is the humility of this family. They do all of this because they want to make the world a better place. They do all of this because if you want to make something change, be part of the change. So, I mean, it was hard I had to convince them to please come and accept the award because they didn't want to, they don't want recognition. They do it because it's the right thing to do. So it is my honor and my privilege to present the August 2019 on behalf of the council and the city manager to the Nolan family. Patrick. So we've got Patrick, we've got Vicky, and I also had to promise not to give the microphone to Vicky because she's so humble, so I'm not going to do that.
My wife, Vicky.
Here.
Oh, this is my wife, Vicky. This is our son, Cole. This is our son, Riley, our daughter, Savannah, and my son, Shane. McKenna couldn't be here today. She tore her ACL, and she just going to have to go have surgery. And Austin was called into work, so those things happen. So thank you very much. This is an incredible honor and unbelievable that this is happening. So greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pastor.
Yeah. Big smiles.
Wait, one more.
Well, congratulations. That is a first. You know, when Councilmember Norris said that she hopes that one of you become mayor, I'm looking at the size of the family and I'm thinking that could actually be the entire council. It could be. Right? That could be trouble. Well, congratulations. Well deserved. The next item on the agenda is the presentation of the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award to the City of Oldsmar. Our city manager, Al Braithwaite, will present that.
Okay, this year, the Government Finance Officers Association gives out a Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. And for the 6th year in a row, the City of Oldsmar has received it. So I'd like to recognize the Administrative Services Department, Cindy Netto, Garrett Zeliff, and John Dauphiné. Hello. Here, you carry it. You're the young one.
Oh.
This is becoming redundant, but I did Cindy's 20-year anniversary award a couple of meetings ago, and this is actually Cindy's initiative again. The fact that we've won it for the 6th year in a row is the consistency with which she holds her staff to a standard. If you ever looked at our budget, we actually do 3 of them every year with time deadlines, and they all get done, and they're brilliant. And the best way I can describe this, because this is a byline from the GFOA in Chicago, Government Finance Officers Association is pleased to announce that the City of Oldsmar, Florida has received GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for its budget. The award represents a significant achievement by the entity. It reflects the commitment of the governing body and staff to meeting the highest principles of government budgeting. In order to receive the budget award, the entity had to satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation, which was evaluated by other finance professionals. And these guidelines are designed to assess how well an entity's budget serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. The budget documents must be rated proficient in all 4 categories and in the 14 mandatory criteria within those categories to receive the award. As I mentioned before, this is the 6th year in a row that we've won it, thanks to Cindy's leadership and her staff's accomplishments. And I double-checked on the website this morning, and as of August 1st, 2019, out of the 412 municipalities in the state of Florida, 46 have received the award, and we are one of 5 municipalities in Pinellas County. So congratulate them, and thank you very much.
Thank you again, Al, for giving us the opportunity to chase our dream and get the award. Thank you, Council.
Great job,
for giving
you
us such a
guys.
great city. You make it easy
Great
for
job.
us. And I'll go ahead and introduce our budget team. A couple of them couldn't be here today, but I'll tell you who they are. This is John Dauphiné. He's our financial analyst. Garrett Zeliff, he's our finance administrator. Amy Ratliff and Sandy Winkler couldn't be here. And Michelle Kutch in the back, she's our HR administrator. And she's came at the tail end of our budget process last year, but she's deeply involved in their current process. So I'll hand it over to Garrett if you want to say a few words.
I really don't have much to add. The memo says it all. Just a quick shout out to Dean for flying all the way from Colorado just to help us get this award tonight.
Two of my best street hockey players as well. Those two.
Al, get in the picture. Yeah, you know you're like a proud Papa Bear.
I'm generally all over them anyway.
Thanks.
Good job, you guys.
Congratulations, Cindy, on your leadership, and once again, for our city to be recognized with this. It's interesting for me, and I think your entire council, at a time when there seems to be a lot of distrust with your governments and that type of stuff. This is one of those things from a transparency standpoint that's very important. I ran a public company for 10 years, and we had our annual filings and everything else, and I think back to those filings, and I look at this report, and honestly, this is so much better. It's very well written. Every time I read it, I end up with questions, and I read a little further, and there's the answer. And so I would encourage any of our citizens who enjoy that type of stuff. Never mind. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Community Redevelopment Agency. We are now sitting as the CRA board.
Mr. Mayor, I'm in the mood for clapping. I was curious if you would entertain a motion to take items 7 and 8 out of order.
7 and 8. The chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules of the day.
So moved.
The chair will entertain that we move items 7 and 8 up to, we'll call it 4, 2A and B. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. At this time,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you. At this time, it's my privilege to introduce our city clerk for item number 2A, the public service oath for Fire Chief. Where is he at? Jason Swab. Come on up.
Absolutely. Jason, could you come join me, please?
Let's give him a round of applause. Come on.
Feels good to just keep clapping, right? I like it. Got your Band-Aids?
No blood, Caden.
Well, he's gonna say the oath first, and then you need to do that stuff. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Yes.
I, Jason Schwabe,
Do solemnly pledge
do solemnly pledge
to uphold the laws
to uphold the laws
and Constitution
of the United States of America,
the state of Florida,
the state of Florida,
and the city of Oldsmar.
and the city of Oldsmar.
I pledge to remain ever vigilant,
I pledge to remain ever vigilant,
protecting our citizens' lives,
protecting our citizens' lives,
health, homes, and property.
and property.
I pledge to accomplish our mission
I pledge to accomplish our mission
through education,
training,
leadership, and the
commitment
to accountability
and respect.
I pledge to accept with honor
I pledge to accept with honor
the duties and responsibilities
the duties and responsibilities
of Fire Chief for Oldsmar Fire Rescue.
Fire Rescue. So help me God.
Congratulations.
Wait, what?
$20 if you draw blood.
So thank you. I just want to introduce, that was my lovely wife, son Caden, and daughter Callie that did that. I just want to say that I'm thankful for this opportunity. I think it's a great opportunity to serve as your next fire chief. What we're doing tonight is kind of a tradition in the fire service. Our former fire chief that's in the back kind of brought this to the city council, so we share it with the community. And I thought it was a good tradition to kind of keep moving on with. So we do have one more for you. Angel Hernandez. I'm going to hand it back over to Ann.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I, Angel Hernandez, solemnly pledge to uphold the laws and Constitution
of the United
States of America, the state of Florida,
and the city of Oldsmar.
and the city of Oldsmar. I pledge to remain ever vigilant, protecting our citizens' lives, health, homes, and property. I pledge to accomplish our mission through education, training, leadership, and the commitment to accountability and respect. I pledge to accept with honor the duties and responsibility of Fire Lieutenant for Oldsmar Fire Rescue. So help me God.
Congratulations.
We want to get so you got to sing and dance now.
Oh.
Yeah. Dean, you didn't tell him that? You didn't? Oh, you could just say.
I'd just like to say thank you for the new chief for giving me the opportunity to become a lieutenant and prove what I'm worth. And thank you to everybody else in the department that actually had faith in me. And all the guys are really good. I'd like to thank our old chief, really good example for me when I first started. You know, had me training and pushing me and had me looking over and beyond because I never thought I would want to be a lieutenant. And he's like, get educations, put it in your pocket because one of these days you'll never know. And here we are. Who pinned me was my dad. He actually was a volunteer for Oldsmar years back when, 86. But I have family spread out through the entire room, so if I I'd like to thank them as well because, you know, they were my backbone through everything, so love you guys.
I'd like to have the council come up and maybe our charter officers do a picture. Still behind us. All right, ready? All right, smile, everyone. All right.
Hold on. Get mine. What was it, lifeless?
Big smiles, big smiles.
Oh, right, absolutely.
It's not a presentation. It's actually, it's an action. I know, doing the oath on both of them.
I got you. So it's just, yeah.
Callie and Jay were.
It's not a presentation. It's actual activity.
Get on this podium here.
Yeah, it was like.
Okay, up here, guys. Oh, all right, big smiles, big smiles. Try another.
All right, great job. Congratulations.
Poor thing.
She held it as long as she could.
Thank you to all the family members for being here tonight.
Should I go move my car? No. I told Eric I told Al I had to park illegally because there wasn't any parking.
Well, Saxy's the
That
one you
step
got
stool's
working.
bigger than Cody.
He'd ride his grandma and admits it. But as long as he's here, you're okay.
Jerry's back there taking pictures. Now you guys can breathe, right?
All right, let's get the meeting back to order here. I want to thank Councilmember Gannon for that suggestion. With all of the firefighters in the room, I figured the city wasn't safe anyhow, right?
We got to get them out of here.
So we need to move on that. The next item on the agenda is the Community Redevelopment Agency. We are now sitting as a CRA board, not as council, which we are all members of. Item number 3 is to rank economic development proposals for property east of City Hall. But give a little backdrop. On August 13th, we had a workshop where we had 3 different organizations make presentations. I did tell them at that meeting that we would give them an opportunity up to 5 minutes to kind of update. Sometimes you walk away from that and something you wanted to add. And so we're going to give them that opportunity. We're not necessarily looking for full-blown presentations, but we'll give you that opportunity at this time. The first group I would call up is the Commonwealth Group. Where are they at? And if you would introduce yourself for the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Brian Fry, President of Commonwealth Hotels. We are working with Finfrock Construction and have a group that is happy to participate in this program and very excited about the opportunity to work with the City of Oldsmar to provide a really sort of a shining star, the best hotel in the area and located on the best piece of property in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. The next group will be the Simone Group.
Hello. Eric Paul Simone with Simone Development.
David Wallace, Jr.
I'm actually glad you're giving us the extra 5 minutes. A couple things I want to highlight. My dad apologized, couldn't be here. Stuck in Orlando, building a hotel right by Universal Studios. We mentioned the garage in our proposal. We are happy to provide our services to build it for you at cost, with construction costs the way they are now. It's our expertise. Construction is our expertise, and we're willing to, utilize our resources for the town we love. Another thing, I used to be a multifamily broker for Marcus & Millichap, and fortunately enough, I was on the largest team in the Southeast region. When it comes to putting multifamily around the parking garage, I can get you from the smallest person to the related group, the huge range of people I know, one phone call away. On that, you know us, and it motivates me more and more each day to do this project for you guys. I spoke to Katie Gannon, our council member Katie Gannon, at the end of our meeting, and she said, I understand why this means a lot to you because this is a, legacy project, and that really, it sunk into me there because when I drive by Oldsmar, I'm always proud to point out that my father built these hotels and then my uncle built the other 2. And it made me think, how cool would it be if I can one day tell my kids, your father and your grandfather built this hotel. So it's my duty. I want to grow my father's business, and take it to the next step. And I'd love to grow with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. All right, the next group is the DFMAR. I tried to turn it into a word last time. Did you notice that? I'm like, I can't, how do you even pronounce it? He goes, Eric. I was like, Eric, it's an acronym. Oh, okay. You have the floor.
My name is Francisco Semch, managing member of DFMAR.
Mark. Yes. That's how you do it.
See, there you go. We're going with that. We're going with that.
And our partners.
Hey, good evening, Council. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you, everybody in the community. I wish the firefighters and the folks who got recognized earlier were still here to say thank you as well. But I'm Vincent Jackson. I reside here in Tampa, Florida. Been here residentially for about 8 years. Been operating full-time with CTV Capital for over about 4 years. So we're excited to be here, speak more about our development. Obviously, we had the workshop over the last few months. We've had an MOU and some different sessions together. I think you guys are pretty familiar about what we can provide and bring to the table. But I think we still have a long way to go as far as developers agreement and things that we can achieve. But just so you know, Francisco will share a little more in details of what we want to provide. But thank you for inviting us this evening, and thank you guys for presenting the opportunity for development, what's happening in Oldsmar.
As was presented last week, we submit a development for the 7 full acres next to the City Hall. And as you saw, has all the components of the mixed use that has been the vision of Oldsmar for a long time. And we have the parking garage, the multifamily hotel, park, offices, restaurants, retail, commerce, entertainment. We have monument and everything that will represent what's Oldsmar all about. So we're going to make a few clarifications, not much. But at the same time, we had the opportunity to present the library site also with another mixed-use development similar to the City Hall. So through our exploration and negotiation with the city and doing a few options that that site can absorb in the density that they want, we discovered a few good options that even can be combined with the City Hall, and we can have developed both for the city of Oldsmar. So that was pretty much the presentation, and then a couple of clarification also from the presentation.
Sure. To clarify everybody here who's not familiar, I know we're speaking clear to you guys who are familiar with some of the things we've discussed in the past. We're basically talking about a master plan community. We're talking about 2 separate sites that we're willing to develop. We're open to develop. We've been working on developing, investing our time, energy, and resources in the viability, sustainability for 2 very viable sites, plus more. Things that we won't discuss today, but there's other options in Oldsmar that we continue to invest our time and resources in because we believe it's about building a comprehensive and long-term investment for what makes some of these things we're speaking about today. 7 acres on the City Hall site, I believe we talked about adjacent here, as well as the 7 acres over by the library. Anybody here knows Oldsmar very well. 2 very similar sites, Oldsmar downtown. We call it what, downtown east, downtown west? Yes. Pretty comprehensive and very synergistic sites. Okay, guys, so this is a master plan. I like to use the word comprehensive because over 15 years, this gentleman here to my right, and Mayor, yourself has been involved at least as long as him, if not longer, for the idea and the vision for what Oldsmar can be. And that vision is about a tourist attraction, interactive, pedestrian-friendly, synergistic retail center with mixed use that supports the existing community that's here and invites more growth, okay? We know what Oldsmar is. We spent a lot of time in research and the fact what Oldsmar can be. Nothing we're trying to build is gonna be too cumbersome or too invasive on traffic, pedestrian flow, or anything else. What we wanna do is just maximize the opportunity that we see, what sits right here, we call Oldsmar our gem, between Hillsborough, Pinellas, south of Pasco type of deal. This is a very, very viable opportunity for all of us. I think the timing is right. We believe the timing is right, and we're ready to go. Full bore. We'll spend the time as much as you guys can offer us and allow us to pester you. We want to be involved, and we want to make sure that the community's involved and listen to every neighbor, like we've tried to do in the past 8 to 10 months, to find out exactly what is the best suited, amenities and things that will work here. So, Francisco, if there's any closing comments you have, I really
we're pretty excited to team up with CTV. We got in contact because another development similar to the Oldsmar that they're going after in Tampa, in the city of Tampa. So we have common goals, common understanding about how to do this type of projects.
Right.
And then, at the same time, they do their own investments in the same type of business use. So they have restaurants, hotel, multifamily. So it's just a good fit for us to develop that. So we're excited to have them as a partners on it. I think there's a lot of also commitment with the community. They're very strong into the roots into the Tampa Bay area, and for the involvement that they have in different organizations and what they have done. So we feel pretty solid in this team that we have brought to Oldsmar.
Thank you. That's great. Well said. And it's intriguing me to bring up a couple of things. What the city of Oldsmar is doing, what really intrigued us to continue to invest here, is the fact that you guys are doing things philanthropically and doing things activity-wise with the youth. A lot of things that we do at CTV Capital has to do with a lot of development inside of Tampa, developing projects that deal with not only active business and retail side, but everything has a little bit of some affordable housing, some workforce housing, and also just the general traffic of what we can do to bring more intrinsic value to everybody existing here. The people that have been living here for the last 25 years, they deserve the same ear and acknowledgement for what the people that are going to be moving into this community is. Okay, so that's where we're approaching developments. That's where we're approaching this development. And again, thankful for the fact that we met DFMAR, about a year, 2 years ago now. And his resume speaks for itself. He's been here investing in this community for a long time. He's done other things that I'm familiar with. My hometown, Colorado Springs, I believe was a $40+ million development. So the acumen is here. And I know we probably got a time limit. I don't want to keep rambling here.
That's important to my watch.
Always trying to be good. Don't worry. Nice no sneak there. Little nose. As long as you guys don't put on the opera music, I'm good. But we're a pleasure to be here. We're excited about investing in this community. We're going to be here for long term. This isn't some sort of external, investment group that's coming in here to make a quick buck or do something quick and get out and flip it. We're here. We're neighbors, and we're going to be part of this community for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So first off, to all three of the groups, let me say thank you for the effort that you put into this. I do think that, and of course we haven't talked about it, but I do think that the consensus overall at the workshop was that we were all pretty pleased with what we saw was presented in terms of concept plan. I think that all of you really got the vision that we've been trying to articulate as a team. And so for us, that's an exciting opportunity to watch unfold because that hasn't always been the case. And so, so thank you for that. So I have to share a couple things before we have any discussion. And I'm going to be very candid and say I do think that some of the information was incomplete based on what staff actually asked for. But, it's a concept plan, right? And so clearly that kind of stuff kind of gets vetted out. I need to make everyone aware, and if you saw it on the agenda, and we added another item on the agenda earlier, that since that meeting, we have received essentially 3 more proposals. Now, I want to share with you part of the requirements. We don't have a choice. Part of the requirements of our CRA by statute. And I'll read just a little bit of it. It's statute 163.38. I'm not going to read it. Essentially what it says, because it's long and it's spelled out, whatever. Essentially what it says is, before we can execute, there's 2 major points to it. And I'm sure Tom would say there's a lot more because he's our lawyer. There's 2 major points to it. Number 1 is is that before we can actually execute a deal with someone when it comes to the disposal of any property within the CRA, there are certain requirements. One of those requirements is that we must, before completing the deal, the purchase agreement, we must publicly advertise the details of that deal for 30 days. And during that timeline, we are required by law to accept any additional proposal that might come from the development community. In addition to that, we are required by law to evaluate that and provide reasonable due diligence and treat it as if it was part of the original group. So as you see, in the mayor's mind, this creates a problem with us receiving, really unknown that we were receiving them, 3 additional proposals. Because it will, before we get to the next step with anybody in the room, we already have 3 other proposals that we must evaluate. And so this is by statute for us. You know, for us as a city, it's a good problem to have, right? It's not when we're trying to get things moving. And so from a practical standpoint, I don't believe ranking anybody today makes any sense for anyone, because it's going to continue to keep it a little messy because we have potentially 3 more in the mix. And, you know, it's actually a good law. I think it was created to prevent unethical behavior from a CRA board, making a sweetheart deal with someone and not publicly notifying everyone. Do I envision that we're going to continue to get this dribble of proposals in? I find it very unlikely. But having said that, I'm going to recommend to the council that we table this ranking until after we've given staff adequate time to engage with the 3. These proposals, by the way, came in, the last one came in Friday at what time? 4 o'clock. And so it was a surprise. It required us a little bit of evaluating. But I personally believe that this is the smart move for us and frankly for everybody involved. The good news is nobody got ranked 2nd or 3rd. So everyone's still alive in it. The bad news is clearly it's a delay. I will tell you with all sincerity, I think that, as I said earlier, the council was really pleased with the vision. You know, I don't believe that that vision would have taken place so accurately had you all not invested the time to be at these other meetings. I don't know how these other parties can get up to speed like that, because we're not holding other meetings as it relates to this. So I would say that there is a distinct advantage for the investment of your time. But having said that, at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to table.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion amongst the council?
Mayor, I'd just like to say is I totally agree with this, and I thank you for your explanation of the statute and for the CRA. I think I totally agree with you. I think we're not ready to do that with what's going on, and I just want to thank you for your leadership.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the transparency.
All right.
And I also agree. I was actually going to abstain from this because I thought that it was a little, you know, I don't know if I could have abstained from the ranking. Okay, well, I wasn't going to.
You don't have a conflict.
Because there were so many wonderful things in all 3, but with the new 3 proposals. So thank you for tabling it.
All right.
Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, and we apologize that you've made the time. I know some have probably traveled, but it's one of those things that, welcome to government, right?
Mayor, I just have one thing, because I
Please.
talked to Tom about it in the last meeting, just to put on the record that Vincent is a friend of mine and was a previous investor in a residential project I had in St. Pete years ago. We don't have any current or ongoing or future projects, but just wanted to mention, and that won't affect my participation in any of this going forward. So.
Thank you, council member. I have no doubt that it will not. All right, since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, motion passes. All right, item number 4 on the agenda. is authorize city manager enter into negotiations with Prime Hospitality Group, LLC, for the purpose of entering into a development agreement or a portion of the city-owned property in the community redevelopment area. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 4A, authorize the city manager to enter into negotiations with Cohen Realty, Inc. for the purpose of entering into a development agreement for city-owned property in the community redevelopment area. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Do I have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the consent docket. I will turn this over to the city clerk for announcing those items.
Item number 5, approve minutes of the August 8th, 2019 operational budget work session. And item number 6, approve payment to legal counsel for July 2019 legal services.
Thank you. Does
May
anyone
I
wish to
make a
pull it?
motion for the consent docket?
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Sensing none? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. City of Oldsmar. Item 9 on the agenda, approve moving Ricard Smith from alternate member to full member of the Veterans Advisory Board. I understand that he is not here tonight. Oh, there he is. Come on up.
You got his name right.
Oh, yeah, that's not a missing page.
How are you, sir?
Fine. How you doing? Ricard Smith.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been living here in Oldsmar for about 6 or 7 years. I was previously military, lived all over the world, retired about 15 years, not quite 15 years ago, I guess. And we love it here in Oldsmar, and this is our town, our home. I want to be participating here in town and help things get better. And we live across from Veterans Park. Love the park, love the activities we do over there and things we do for veterans.
So you don't even have to park. You can just walk right over.
Walk right across the street.
That's excellent. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you for your help and your service. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your past service and your future service.
Where's Lisa?
Home.
Oh. Thank you for your service. Thank you for volunteering.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate your willingness to serve and look forward to having you on that. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the annual update presentation from Empower Adventure Operations of Tampa Bay, LLC. And we got their CEO, J-O-E.
Thank you, Mayor.
You got the memo.
Introduce your team.
Yes, indeed. My name is Joe Doring. I am the founder and president of Empower Adventures Tampa Bay. This is Sarah Sterling, our director of marketing, and Calvin Joustra, our director of operations. And we reside at 423 Lafayette Boulevard over in Mobley Bayou Wilderness Preserve.
Excellent. Awesome. The floor is yours.
Okay, so direct your attention to the slides. Next slide. I think I can do that here somehow. Maybe not this one.
Point it that way.
There we go.
Oh, don't push it too hard.
There we go. All right, Calvin.
All right, so I just wanted to give a brief overview of kind of the growth we have been experiencing the past 3 years that we've been open. So starting in year one, we saw just under 8,000 customers with 1,100 tours. Going into year two, we experienced some growth, almost 9,000 customers served, which was a growth of about 15% from year one. This past year was our best year by far, with 11,171 customers served, which was a 25% increase from year two and a 43% increase over year one. So incredible growth we've been experiencing. This past summer has been incredible as well, being able to serve a lot of different youth programs coming in. Within 5 miles of Oldsmar, we've been able to serve 1,132 people. So a lot of our local residents coming in and experiencing everything that we have to offer. It has been great. Our office is now in the Environmental Education Center. So with that comes a little bit of co-use with all the different events that are going on under there. We got the Oldsmar summer camps that run out of there with their fishing camps and adventure camps. So we do a really great job sharing the space with them. Camp Gladiator's out there working out when it's either really hot or really rainy, which it has been quite frequently last couple of weeks. We've had a couple rentals out there of different, I think there was a quinceañera. We've had wedding receptions out there. So we are flexible with that and are still able to run our tours effectively. Then we've been involved with the Halloween happenings in that park the last 2 years, being able to offer some of our zip lines for the patrons that come out. We really pride ourselves on our experience that we're able to offer. We are consistently getting 5-star reviews. We've had over 500 5-star reviews just in the past year. And I gave an example of one of them right up there. Credit really goes all to our guides that are out there. They are consistently mentioned in our 5-star reviews. Ryan and Taylor are mentioned in this one specifically, but it's our guides that really make the experience what it is. We are in a beautiful park as well, which definitely helps, but the customers are there, or excuse me, the guides are there to really kind of put the cherry on top of everything and give everybody a great experience that comes out.
Hi guys, so just a little bit of information on marketing. It's been a big year for us, even though we didn't have the same viral support that we had last year. There was a video from ABC that came out, has over 1 million views, really boosted us and all of our traffic, and somehow we've come out on top this year, and we're really happy about it. It's increased efforts across grassroots. We had a high impact outdoor campaign. We had the 2 billboards on 275 just south of Gandy. So I don't know if you guys saw those were up last winter while tourism was in its high points. We've also increased our digital spend as well as our digital efforts, sending out more emails, trying to be better about talking to our customers and getting them in the door and learning more about Empower Adventures. We've also increased our partnerships. We sponsored St. Pete Pride this year. We always work closely with the city, with Deb, and making sure that we're helping out with events or participating in things like Halloween happenings, increasing our partnerships with chambers, bars, restaurants, and local businesses, stuff like that. In terms of our website growth, we're up year over year from 12 to 14% across users and sessions. A lot of our users are new users. They're coming from mostly within the United States, about 5% is outside of the US, and then within the US, 60,000 of them are coming from within Florida. Wow. And then within Florida, the top 5 areas, you've got Tampa, Orlando, St. Pete, Clearwater, and Upper Tampa Bay in that order. St. Pete and Clearwater have swapped. St. Pete took up a spot over Clearwater this year, so that's good for us. That means we're increasing our awareness down there. Good. And then just a little bit of information about how people hear about us. Google search is always the top result for us. We also have really great search results. If you ever Google it, we've got the graph search, which no one can pay for. So I won't be mad about that. Friends and family, Groupon, return visits, social media is a big one for us, and word of mouth really helps us out. I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah and Calvin. And Mr. Mayor, I believe this is a slide you were looking forward to.
Thank you.
And
too well.
Yes, indeed. And obviously, we've grown since the beginning, 2006, and there's continued growth expected for year 4. Our economic impact continues to grow within the city of Oldsmar and the region through a unofficial survey. We would say about 7 out of 10 guests who come out are spending money outside of Empower Adventures in Oldsmar. Obviously, the zipline tour, and many of you have been up there, know that it's quite an achievement to get through the course, and after 2 to 2.5 hours, you're ready for a meal and ready for a cocktail to celebrate. So many of our local establishments are being frequented by our guests. The flea market, with its development and with its improvement, is going to be an even bigger asset for us. And not only that, but the employment. We had the Nolan family here, and at one point I think we had most of them working for us. And so that was great. And really our biggest marketing strategy and our biggest initiative is to win in our backyard. And that means by being a homegrown, local amenity and attraction for the residents of Oldsmar to enjoy and take advantage of, and then we grow from there. It's not the other way around with us. And this is my most favorite slide, empowering those who need it the most. In the last 12 months, we've donated over $35,000 to local charities and nonprofits. That's in the form of cash, in the form of services, in the form of gifts and charity gift certificates and things of that nature. And our goal for this year is to be over $50,000.
Excellent.
This is touchy. Okay, so this is Chip's favorite slide. The City of Oldsmar Employee Zipline Program. From the very beginning, we've been bringing the City of Oldsmar employees out to experience the zipline course and everything we have to offer free of charge. That continues to this day. We're targeting September 15th for the next date to have city employees to come out and enjoy the zipline. So that's something that continues.
Make sure they sign the waiver, will you?
Absolutely. Community partners, you'll notice the City of Oldsmar icon is the biggest icon on the screen. Obviously, we don't exist without your partnership, and we're grateful for that for sure. One thing I had come to mind when Sarah was up here talking is that Deb Pauley in the city's marketing department has been outstanding with her support and everything that they do. It's absolutely amazing, and we couldn't be able to reach the people that we reach without them. So I wanted to make that known. And ultimately, everybody, all politics is local, so is in business. And so what you'll see here is a mix of organizations that we've reached out to us and vice versa to work with. Speaking of local, we have been nominated as one of the best family activities for the Visit St. Pete Clearwater Local Favorites Best Of issue that comes out in 2020. And so for those who are here, if you could pull out your devices, log on to Visit St. Pete Clearwater, go down to Local Favorites, Best Family Activity, and please click Empowered Ventures Oldsmar. Oh, and by the way, you can vote every day. So
September 6th.
We would expect everyone here to do that every day for us. Thanks.
You got it, Joe. For you, anything.
Thank you, Mr. Saraki.
It'll be all over Facebook before the end of the night. I just have a feeling, Adam.
I was here a few meetings ago where you all passed the paddling add-on for Ari Olds Park, and so a quick update. It's been about 30 days since we've been running that program. I've been updating Chip along the way. We've had about 30 people or so, mainly focusing on Saturdays and Sundays out there at the park. Weather has been an issue, so we expect that to grow as well as word of mouth grows locally, as our marketing gets up and going. But it is up and running. It is successful. People love it. I've been out there with my family. I have an 8 and 10-year-old, and we had some visitors down, and we went out there and got to paddle alongside a couple dolphins, which was super cool. So for those who are here, another ask, if it's not too much, if you could tell your friends and neighbors about our paddling program, that would be great. And of course, we continue to put out press releases to get local media to Oldsmar to showcase obviously the great views from atop the zipline course, but also everything else that we're doing and is going on here. So that was a little bit about that. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Council, any questions?
Thank you. I have a quick question. And I don't know if you want me to put you on the spot, Joe, but I think obviously great leadership affects a lot of these things. And so Joe was my mentor in the county's leadership program. And one of the interesting things I learned about him is some of the ways that he actually gives back in his own time to another country. So I just want to know if you wouldn't mind giving a quick update on that project that you do.
Thank you. Sure. So I have established a partnership with a adventure outfitter in Nepal. I've been to Nepal 3 times now, and we are partnering with this adventure climbing outfitter to build a school, build out a school at about 20,000 feet, where you can't have water, there's no electricity, there's no real supplies or anything like that. Everything has to be hand carried there. And so we're working with this outfitter so these kids can have school, can have materials, can have books, can have pencils, can have, you know, lamps and light to walk up and down the mountain to and from school with. So it's a very great cause for me because it's something that I'm passionate about, and appreciate you bringing that up.
Nice, very nice. Any other questions?
I was curious about the update on the paddling adventures, which he provided, so that was my main question.
Excellent.
Joe, as soon as the weather breaks, I'll see you in paddleboarding. I'm
Do
coming
it.
out.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Do you, I've asked this before, do you by chance, when you having been up on the platforms getting ready and you've got that kind of lull for a moment, have you spent any time looking at points of interest that you could teach the guides to point out? Have you started doing that?
We have, absolutely, and I'd be open to any suggestions that you might have. But
Dr. Beaverland.
Yeah, well, we have, and so we've talked about the canoe that he believes in the bottom of Mobley Bay that is hundreds of years old. So we've talked about some of that history that he's written about, and it really the for lack of a better word, script evolves as our people come in and as we get new folks and as we kind of read our customers and figure out, you know, what they're looking for and what they're needing. But what stays the same year over year is the ecology script about the habitats in and around Mobley Bay and the bayou there, and how the marine environment interacts with the woodland environment. Obviously the scenery and the 10-mile view to St. Pete and over to Tampa and Courtney Campbell and everything like that. And then obviously the history. Ari Olds himself is a mainstay within our story. People always ask Oldsmar, and they see the seal and ask about it. And so we continue to talk about Ari Olds and the whole history behind Oldsmar. So good. Those are 3 parts that remain constant. There's always room for addition, though, so I would...
It wouldn't be a bad idea if you're when you're up there, maybe take some pictures, looking back at different areas within Oldsmar. I'm talking more for the city, and send those to Beaverland.
Great.
Because he might have from that view, because he's never going up there, right?
I never say never, but I understand. I ask him every time I see him.
I think a picture's probably a better approach. But do you know by chance, I know you have the stats on the online visits, but do you know the stats of how many of your customers were out of state? Or
we have the stats. We didn't put them on these slides, but we can get them to you.
I was just curious.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
I just have the web stats, but not actual customers.
Okay, we can pull those for sure.
Okay, cool. The only other question that I have for you is, so what do you think the forecast is for the current year?
You always ask me this question. Above and beyond what you've seen on these slides.
13%. Yeah. So you got 13%. I mean, is 15% the target? Or
that's
10%?
realistic. That's realistic.
Okay. All right. Good.
I have a comment.
Sure.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, Joe and I were born in the same hospital in Connecticut, which I always think is so cool.
ironic.
I know, it's so cool. But I was just reflecting on back how many ever years ago it was. We were at Brooker Creek Preserve, and this came up as one of our ideas that we wanted to grow ecotourism and everything. I think Gabby was on the council.
I was on the council.
And Dan was on, and it was such an exciting idea. But then to fast forward, to the years to see how wonderful it is, because we got some really zip line. I mean, we got some like, what are you guys talking about? Mm-hmm. But we kind of had the vision that you've even exceeded that. So thank you.
And I would say this report next year will show over 15,000 people who came to the park for an eco zip line experience.
Right. And the money that you give to charity, kudos.
And that's so important for us. being able to have that net gain.
Yeah.
You only get that from people coming out. So anyhow, well, thank you very much, sir. Great job.
Thank you.
Let me give you a round of applause. 13%, I'll give you that. All right, next item on the agenda is the presentation of sustainability update. Ashley Painter, our city's sustainability coordinator, will provide that update.
Hello. Thank you for having me up here. So tonight I'm just going to give a kind of brief overview of what sustainability is, what it has been in the past for Oldsmar, and where we're looking for it to be in the next year. If I can get this. All right. So most people kind of don't really understand what sustainability is in general. They kind of have an idea, but what we are defining it is as making decisions that today that don't affect tomorrow. So basically, kind of following the principles of the Iroquois tribe, where they had the 7-generation principle, which means that any decision that you make today, you think about 7 generations in the future and how it's going to affect them, and making sure that they can have the same kind of way of living that you have now, that you're not sacrificing their future for your present. The 3 main pillars of sustainability are your economic, your environment, and your social. It's very important. It's like a 3-legged stool. If you take one of them away, your stool's going to fall over. So we don't want to be biased towards one way or the other. A lot of times sustainability tends to be biased towards the environment. We want to bring the city of Oldsmar back into balance. So for the cities in the past, we have actually had a sustainability coordinator for the past decade. We were one of the first cities in the Tampa Bay region that had a sustainability coordinator. So the city of Oldsmar was very forward thinking when they created the position. So far, in most of the actions and the kind of plans of the sustainability coordinators in the past have focused mainly on our water supply, water conservation, recycling. We brought in our past sustainability coordinator brought in the recycling program for the city. And then there's a lot of other smaller things, but those were the 2 main pushes for past coordinators. As we go into the future, we have 3 main areas that I want to concentrate on in the next year: education and outreach, planning, and tracking. Oh, too fast. So education and outreach. A lot of the problems that we have in the sustainability field are people just don't understand what you're trying to do. We want to overcome that within the city itself, within our own employees, but also in the community, to let everyone understand that we're not just tree huggers that are trying to save the environment. We also want economic growth. We want social inclusivity. We want everything all together. We are concentrating, because we are in an area that does not have a lot of fresh water use, and we do have our reverse osmosis water treatment plant. Water conservation is a big issue in this area. Waste reduction, we've concentrated in the past mostly on recycling. I'd like to shift that to reduction. Recycling is kind of a Band-Aid. So we want to push that. We are reinstituting and revamping our Adopt a Street program. So we want to get the community involved in keeping our streets and our neighborhoods clean. We have several workshops and events planned for the community and also for city employees as well, to kind of get them up to speed on different programs and also different ways that they can bring sustainability into their everyday lives. And then, like I said, we are doing some trainings for employees as well, because we want, as a city, to be the leaders to our employees to go out and be able to teach others. So the next big area is planning. We have 2 big things planned for this coming fiscal year. A resiliency study. That's kind of a roadmap to what we do. We are going to review all the city's aspects and look at what our most vulnerable areas within the city are, and try to come up with a plan of how to move forward for adaptation and mitigation to keep our city as resilient as we can. We are also, from this resiliency study, we will be coming up with a citywide sustainability plan. We've had some small departmental plans in the past, but we want to expand it to the whole city. It doesn't make a lot of sense for one department to do something if all the other departments are doing nothing. So that plan will kind of depend on what the council priorities are and what you see as the most fit for us to move forward on that. And lastly, what we are doing is tracking a lot. I'm spending a lot of time with spreadsheets right now. We are currently in the middle of doing our Florida Green Building Coalition Green Local Government Certification. In the past, we have certified as a silver. We are hoping to increase our level of certification. Just a brief overview, it is over 250 metrics, over 20 categories, and it encompasses every single department in the city. It is a lot of numbers and a lot of things to look at. Next, we are also part of the Municipal Separate Sewer System, MS4, way easier. So this is looking at, we are part of the Pinellas County MS4, but this is looking at our stormwater systems and making sure that we're not putting what we put into our stormwater systems and what's going out into the bay is not detrimental to the health of our ecosystems and our waters. All right, so that's pretty much what we're doing. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and go into more detail about anything if you would like.
Well, thank you. Council members.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
What a beautiful presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Gabby, Vice President?
I was just going to say I had asked, I sent Al a note about this maybe a month or so ago, just asking for an update because I think there's a lot of things that we can be doing better in the future to really be a green city, whether that's hybrid vehicles, things of that nature that we should be looking at. So I'm really glad to see you taking ownership on this and look forward to continuing the discussion.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to mention is.
Councilmember Saraki.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Sorry.
We never get the chair recognizes him, right?
Thank you, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I like how you brought up the waste reduction instead of the recycling because I've been going to some seminars about recycling and they're saying it's a big issue in our state. And I like how you define it as waste reduction. I think that's a great tool for educating our citizens. Thank you for that. And as Katie said, great presentation.
Thank you.
Member Norris.
Well, everybody knows I am a certified tree hugger. And everybody knows that. I actually do hug my tree in hurricanes and pray that God doesn't take it. I got one really big one that I do actually hug. But anyway, I am so happy to hear that you're working on going from silver to gold. That is wonderful. And then I didn't know that we were revamping and reinstituting our Adopt a Street program. I didn't know that.
That is pretty new. So we've just officially gotten everything back and all of our paperwork in order. So it will be rolling out in the next couple weeks.
So will email us or let us know through Al or some. I guess Al will let us know. Somebody will let us know because that we should get out into the community. You know, we can get all the streets adopted. So thank you very much. I love the Iroquois tribe. So basically, it's our decisions that we make today. We should think about them on how they affect 7 generations in the future. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you, Ashley.
Well, I think it was a very good presentation, nice update. I think that your visibility is on the rise, and I think that's one way definitely to have an impact on more citizen involvement. Certainly with where we live, there's some key areas, I don't know how you impact it from your role, but clearly anything that we can do to help encourage the reduction of toxins or whatever that's going into the bay that stimulates some of the algae blooms that we experience from time to time over there. That to me is like a very tangible thing that people would probably rally around. And, it was funny because at the Florida League of Cities meeting, I was at the mayor's meeting, and we had this discussion amongst the mayors about some of the issues with recycling or the lack thereof, right? And glass being probably the biggest challenge.
Yes.
In terms of what are we going to do about this glass that is not really being purchased anymore, and looking for alternatives. And we're probably going to bring it to the mayor's meeting here in Pinellas and see if we can't maybe encourage the county to take a look at doing something with as many cities as we have, in any event. But certainly addressing that type of issue is important. So thank you for your update.
Thank you.
Good job. Give a round of applause. Item number 12 on the agenda is presentation by Pinellas County on FEMA map updates. And I'm not sure, there you are.
Shoot the messenger.
She says that right as she walks.
I don't know if we can clap
Say,
on this one. Do not
Safety
shoot
Harbor's
the
underwater,
messenger.
not Oldsmar.
Okay, so I know this goes fast. Nope, wrong way. Coming, I promise. There it is. Okay, so our consultant came and spoke to you all a couple of months ago, I believe, and we were still in the review process at the time. I'm just going to recap a little bit, just to refresh your memories. Why are we doing this update? It's not us. It is FEMA that's doing this update. Our current maps are outdated. They didn't take into consideration a lot of the coastal data that we now have that we did not have at the time that they were originally done, et cetera. Our topology has changed. You're growing, obviously. We just heard multiple, by the way, you guys have a very exciting meeting. You have developers, you've got sustainability, you've got all this stuff going on. So obviously things are changing here in Oldsmar. We have much better science now, and these changing conditions really just need to be modeled. And what I try to explain to people that call me screaming at me, you know, why is this happening? I just say, imagine your cell phone or your TV from the 70s, and what do you have now? So we just have so much better data, such better technology, better methodologies, just better everything to do these models to come up with a more accurate reflection of what the risk is. This is just an example. This is actually from the consultant's presentation showing back in the day how big the grid was when they did these models and how refined it's become for these. So it's a far more detailed model that they do. I feel like I'm loud. This is just another example showing, you know, it was really large before, low resolution, and now we've got this much higher resolution modeling that they're doing. This is from some of our risk map update meetings with FEMA. Just some of the points on here. That original coastal modeling was done in the 70s. This is a coastal update. This is not the interior of the county. You guys are at the top of Tampa Bay, so you're definitely impacted by this. We have much better climate data. The old models only took into account hurricanes and storms into the 70s. We've had a lot more storms since then. Probability actually is a little bit on the low side because we've been very fortunate and haven't been hit. Oh, too fast. Okay, so here's your current firm map. There's no wave modeling done on this. You'll see there's no lines across the map or anything. So you've got your X zones, which are your unshaded areas, your shaded X zones, which are the brown areas, and then your high-risk flood hazard areas are those blue areas called the special flood hazard area. Skip ahead to the current maps, and there's a lot more stuff on these. So you still have your X zones, you still have your special flood hazard area, but now we have some new features. We've got these things called transects, and I'll talk just briefly about those. Originally, we didn't have any transects. When they did map updates back in the late 90s, they added transects, but only along the Gulf. You guys did not get any along Tampa Bay. Nowhere along Tampa Bay were there transects. So our old maps, well, our current effective maps have about, I don't know, 98 or so transects, none of which are in Tampa Bay. This new one has over 300 transects. So it's a far more detailed model. This is what a transect looks like in the profile. Basically, it's just a way to isolate where the data collection is going to occur so that they can model the wave run up and see how that wave is going to propagate over the land when it hits. Once they do the modeling, then they take the results and they develop the actual floodplain delineation. They do the maps and assign the zones to them. And you'll see in the middle there on the bottom picture, it says zone AE, and there's a little dotted line down it. We have a new feature on the map, which is where that yellow arrow is. There's that thick black line that's called a LMWA. It's limit of moderate wave action. On the previous map, we had V zones into A zones into the X zones. A V zone is wave action of greater than 3 feet. So right at that line, the wave action went away. And we all know that didn't happen, right? It's just a line on a map.
Well, because this is a more detailed model and we have these transect analysis now, they've added this feature called the limois. The limois is the area where the wave action will reduce to below 1.5 feet. So everywhere between that V zone, 3+ feet of waves, to that line is somewhere between 1.5 and 3 feet of wave action. So you've got areas that are now identified as being susceptible to wave action. This is going to impact your building codes, not your flood insurance rates. This is what it looks like in the profile. So you see the V zone. This is where you have your larger waves. And then it goes to the AE zone. That AE zone is now going to be split by that limois. So this is just a little bit of a zoomed in. This is your current map. You've got that VE over on the Tampa Bay side, and then an AE on the interior. And then we look at the new one. We've got the VE is coming a little bit further in. We've still got the AE on the interior, but it's separated by that black line. That black line is your limois line. So everything between that VE and that limois line is considered a coastal AE. So there's different building code for that area, because your structures need to be resistant to wave action. Oops, too fast. So this is just an overlay that I did. You've got areas that were originally on the current maps considered to be an X zone, a low or moderate risk, and they're going into the high risk zone. You've also got that limois on there, so you have a coastal A zone. There are also changes in the actual base flood elevations now. So, possible effects of the changes. Either you were in a lower moderate risk and you're going into that high risk, and that's where, if you have a federally backed mortgage, flood insurance will be required. You want to encourage folks to get those policies sooner than later, because if they lock in those X rates, they'll be able to keep those, and then there will be a gradual increase until they get up to that standard X rate. In some cases, if they're on the edge, you may want to encourage them to get an elevation certificate, because it's possible that, you know, these maps are very good, but they're not as detailed as a survey. So if you do a survey and that lowest grade is actually higher than what that base flood elevation is, they could get an amendment to those maps. So the homes that are right along that line, where it goes from the A to the X, is where you want to look for those. Then we've got high risk going into an even higher risk. You have a lot of this. I just was panning through your maps today. You have a lot of folks that have an increase in base flood elevation, and maybe they just built their house last week. So it's built to the current map. So you will end up with a lot of non-conforming structures. They'll be compliant. They were compliant. They were built the way they were supposed to be built to the map that was in effect at the time, but now they'll be considered non-conforming. So this is where your substantial improvement rule will come into play. If somebody wants to improve their structure more than 50%, they'll have to bring it up to this current map. And flood insurance rates will be different, but they can grandfather their current rate. So you want to make sure they're either built to compliance, which is becoming more challenging to prove that they were built to compliance, from what I hear from our insurance folks, and they can have continuous coverage. Sorry, they can have continuous coverage as well. So if they have their policy now, they'll be able to just maintain that same policy with their small increases as rates go up. VE getting reduced down to an AE or an X. I don't think you have very many of these, but for the ones that you do, I would encourage you to tell folks to just make sure their insurance agent is giving them that lower rate, and check maybe even with the private providers, it might be even lower. If you're in that, going into that low or moderate risk zone, the NFIP policies for $250 on the structure and $100 on contents right now is $483 a year. So they're very affordable. And we learned from Harvey and Michael and all these hurricanes we've had that it really doesn't matter if you're in an X zone, because you can still flood. And then down on the bottom, that coastal AE zone, that's not going to impact flood insurance rates right now. That is going to affect your construction code. So where are we? We have been through a really long process. This all started before I even came to the county. They kicked it off in 2012, and we just reached the end of our appeal period at the end of July. We have done a lot of outreach. That's this room right here. We've got some really good press from the public meeting that your staff did an amazing job assisting the county with hosting. We've made 2 different applications online for folks to look up what their flood changes. We've got a slew of information on our website. We've done social media outreach, press releases, and we did in total 8 official open houses across the county over the past year. This is a summary of what our consultants did. So the county hired consultants to make sure that these maps were done properly. We didn't want to just blindly adopt something, obviously. So we hired them to do an overall county-wide review, just kind of look at where are the changes, are there any areas that kind of pop out as it could be an error? And then we did a parcel level analysis to see what the impact was going to be. And then they went map by map and kind of targeted areas. And I sent that out to the municipalities and said, hey, if you want to do an interlocal for a more detailed review on your areas, let's do that, because the county couldn't do a detailed review on every transect. There's over 300 of them now. So the county did, I want to say like 25 transects in unincorporated. And then we had St. Pete, Clearwater, Tarpon Springs, you guys, some of the Reddingtons, because there were increases along the intercoastal, that all came on for a detailed analysis. So our consultant did a fabulous job with that. He looked at the input to make sure that they were all reasonable inputs. They did statistical analysis on the probability modeling, which there was some question with that went into the appeal. So this is too texty, but I did that for your benefit so that you could see it later. The findings, it generally adhered to the FEMA guidelines for mapping. There were no major errors or omissions or anything. The contractor, so FEMA went through, I think, 3 contractors on this because it dragged out so long, contracts kept ending. So this has been through more consultants than is desirable. So now we've got another one in the mix to review that and make sure that everything kind of transitioned okay. So we reviewed it. There are some expected changes, and we need clarification on that probability because they couldn't get the graphs to match when they did the statistical analysis when they were reviewing it. So there's a lower probability of a big storm hitting. We submitted an appeal. You were one of the cities that had an area that is being appealed. And we also submitted all of the public comment that was submitted at the meetings. We had 8 meetings and collected public comment, and it was also online for the whole year for people to submit online. So Bayside Terrace is the area that was reviewed for you. And what they did was they added some transects and remodeled this area and submitted some work maps to FEMA to update this area because this was developed after the initial analysis was started. So the map that was going to be adopted didn't reflect the current conditions. Oops. And this is from our coastal engineer. So that's your map changes. So back to where we are. We've submitted the appeal. The next steps, FEMA's going to have to review everything that we submitted, all the comments and the work maps that were submitted. Then they will, once we've resolved all of that, they'll issue letters of final determination. And then after that, they'll initiate a 6-month compliance period where we all have to adopt. I believe you have the state floodplain model ordinance, Murray? Yes. You have the state model ordinance, so it should be built into your ordinance that you will adopt whatever the next map is that comes in. So you should be all set with your ordinance and not have to do any updates. Murray? Yes. Okay. And then after that 6-month compliance period, the maps will become effective. And this is the point in time that the lenders are going to start calling and making sure folks have their coverage, et cetera. We have a bunch of resources out there on the website, which I'm sure you've all seen. We have flood insurance advocates that volunteer for the county and for you. It's a countywide effort. So if you have questions about flood insurance or how it's going to impact you, feel free to call any of them, or you can call me. I know enough to be dangerous about flood insurance. And that's all I got.
Okay, any questions on the council?
Thank you, Lisa.
I have one.
Well, let's give her a round of applause. All right.
It's a tough job. She doesn't get applause when she goes play.
We're not.
Member Norris.
Is this presentation available to us via email? Because I was trying to take notes because I am getting asked questions by residents. Could we get that?
Yes,
via
I
email?
emailed it to Marie. Marie can share it.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, you can absolutely.
Okay.
She's got it. She can PDF it. And I will say, you've got these developments that are coming in. If they're coming in with plans before these go into effect, I would highly recommend that you have them build for the new requirements.
Okay. I think
Just
that's-
from a sustainability and resiliency standpoint. And then, you know, you guys might want to talk about doing a regional stormwater facility or something there too. There's a lot going on here at this meeting, and a lot of the pieces really work together.
Actually, one more question. The people that are on the line, you said that you recommend that we tell those residents to get a certificate of elevation.
Yes.
Is that because it could go one way or the other, and so their rate would be this or that based on the elevation?
If they're on the blue side, on the special flood hazard area side, then they will want to get an elevation certificate. If the lowest adjacent grade of their structure,
Adjacent grade.
lag,
Okay.
of their structure is higher than the new base flood elevation, then they can apply with FEMA for what's called the letter of map amendment.
Okay.
And that would put them in the X so that they could get that preferred risk policy.
Letter of map amendment. Thank
LOMA, it's called the LOMA.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions? Councilmember Saraki?
I just want to say that the session that we had here and that picture you just showed on the screen, I was in the paper. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
was me.
that was a photo I took on my phone of the paper.
I didn't even realize that. But I wanted to tell you that that was so educational for my wife and I.
Excellent.
That we immediately got our elevation certificates in order, and we got flood insurance and everything.
Excellent.
At a lower rate. And I just want to say that's because of you and your team and the City of Oldsmar staff, and I want to thank you for that.
You are welcome. My pleasure. Thank you.
Good job, Lisa. I will say this, you know, the county, I think, has done an excellent job in trying to really protect all of the county and the cities. And I know you, as you said at the beginning, you know, don't shoot the messenger, but you're more riding shotgun on our behalf. How about that?
You want to talk 2.0. So flood insurance things are changing. So it's really important that we all work together and continue to educate our legislators and continue to work with FEMA and keep those partnerships so that we can ensure that the flood insurance stays affordable. I mean, that's the bottom line. We need to keep it affordable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are definitely a donor state as it comes to rates.
Donor county.
You know, everybody assumes.
It's ironic.
Everyone assumes we're not because it's Florida, but we are.
We are.
And so that's, you know.
Good thing, though, it means we haven't been hit.
This is true. This is true. I live in one of those areas where I don't need a flood certificate, elevation certificate.
You just need a boat.
I just need to keep the boat handy. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, next item on the agenda, City Attorney.
Okay, we've got one public hearing tonight. It's the second and final reading and public hearing for ordinance 2019-07. I'll read that by title only. Ordinance 2019-07, ordinance declaring the intention of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, to annex certain real property located in Section 22, Township 28 South, Range 16 East, further described as Lot 15, Block 17, map Section Number 1, West Oldsmar, parcel number 22, 28, 16, 96660-017-0150 into the corporate limits of the City of Oldsmar and providing for the effective date of this ordinance. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 2019-07 by title only.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
One at a time.
There you go. Since you're ready to vote, roll call, please.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Councilmember Saraki?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McKee?
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-07, annexing 3625 Meriden Avenue into the corporate limits of the City of Oldsmar is adopted with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. City Manager, item 14.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 14 is waive bid requirements and enter into a participation agreement for disaster debris collection and removal services with Ash Britt pursuant to the Pinellas County Cooperative Contract Number 156-0491-P, parentheses JA for joint agreement. Background is the city has already entered into participation agreement with Tetra Tech Incorporated, also via the Pinellas County's cooperative contract to provide debris monitoring and management services back in October of 18. At the July 2nd, 2019, we also asked council, and they approved another participation agreement for disaster debris collection and removal services with Crowder Gulf Joint Venture and Phillips and Jordan Incorporated. This is actually a request to enter into a third participation agreement for the same services, debris collection and removal services with Ashbrit, to ensure adequate response and coverage in assisting the city with any emergency debris cleanup efforts from a storm. Most of you remember from Hurricane Irma, which is now almost 2 years ago. So many parts of the state were affected that previously required agreements from FEMA were going by the wayside because the companies involved were spread too thin. So this is an attempt. There's no financial impact unless we use them, but this is an attempt to try and cover enough bases so that if somebody bails on us because there's a better deal in a storm, that somebody will respond as they're required to. This infinitely, especially now that it's happened once, will be far more important to have in place for reimbursement. The Irma money, we still believe we're getting all, we don't have the cash yet, we still believe we're getting all of the expenses we incurred, but it kind of shocked FEMA as well, because very rarely in history has a storm affected that many portions of Florida. So that's why we're going for this, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Thank you, sir. City clerk? Nothing.
Oh, except that, hi, Steve, I'm glad you're here. I know him.
All right. Excellent. City council, item 15, approved tentative agenda for September 3rd, 2019. Is there anyone who wishes to pull anything from the tentative agenda for discussion?
No.
Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to add anything? Okay, sensing that we don't have any changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So
Do I have a second?
Second.
No discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 16, council comments. I will lead off with Councilmember Norris.
Okay, congratulations to Chief Schwabe and to Lieutenant Angel Hernandez. It's exciting to be here tonight to witness that, and thank Dean for coming. And also we have to give a congratulations to Councilmember Dan Saraki, because he made Oldsmar history by being the first Oldsmar council person and or mayor or vice mayor to be elected to the board of directors of the Florida League of Cities. And Bruce confirmed that it's first in, yeah, Bruce confirmed. Okay, and the conference was, I won't go to, the sessions were wonderful, the speakers were outstanding, and we really did learn a lot. I learned a lot in the sessions that I did, so it was very informative. And I wanted to give a thanks to some folks at the St. Pete Clearwater Airport. Mark Spraud is the deputy director, Steven Santa Maria is the airport operations supervisor, and Aaron Johnson is the operations manager. They came to my home and we had a 3-hour meeting because I'm on the noise abatement board, and I was told, oh, you're not going to get anything done, it's got blah, blah, blah. Well, they've already done some things that we've requested. They've upgraded the phone complaint line. They're upgrading the online form complaint, because you could only put one complaint. But if you had a plane that was low, loud, and late, what do you do? Well, you got to pick one of them, right? So they're going to change that. They are working with the FAA to try to get, there's navigational points that the pilots have to get to before they can descend. They're trying to get those to where the altitude is going to be higher so that it's not so loud when they go over our homes. They're also going to try to move it a bit west and split the difference a little bit. But these are all things that they're working on trying to do, because now I'm the only elected official on that board. And I just want to thank them, because to come and to answer every question and to really sit down and try to solve this. And I'm not saying it's going to be done overnight, but the wheels are rolling. So thank you to all of you wonderful people that came out and did that. And that's all I got.
Thank you for your leadership on that, because I know you talked about it, and it's something, seems to come in waves where we hear a complaint, then we don't hear anything for a while, then we hear, you can almost tell when they've changed the patterns again. And so the only way I think that kind of gets managed, for lack of a better word, is by somebody serving on it. So thank you for doing that. It's
and
important.
One more thing, a lot of people don't know. I was talking to other people today. They said there's some that shake their house. They're going over that shake their house. And they did not know. And I gave them the phone number and I played it for them and I said, that's the new recording. So just Google St. Pete Airport noise complaints. Go on there and fill them out, guys, because the more complaints we have, the better chance we have of getting it changed.
Absolutely.
So
Mayor,
thank
I
you.
have a quick question. Do you hear, do any of the council members have a noise problem with the
I do.
planes? I
hear it,
don't
but
at all.
But I don't think I noticed it anymore.
Rarely.
Okay,
But
so
it
you
could-
do.
it
Oh,
could
yeah,
be
I'm in
your
because-
house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might not notice it anymore.
I don't.
Did anybody see that aircraft, when was it, this past week? No, it wouldn't have been this weekend, it must have been the weekend before, that buzzed over really low. It must have came from like the Lafayette area over to,
Early in the morning?
yes.
Yes,
What kind of
we heard
aircraft
it.
was it?
Small aircraft, it was strange.
Really?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
heard it.
I almost called the sheriff's department because I thought it was going to crash.
Wow.
Because it came out,
It
I
woke
was
us
out,
up.
I had the dog out, and I'm sitting there and I felt like I was watching a UFO like buzz over my house. And I'm like, what? Dog's going crazy. And then it did a sharp turn, and I don't mean like banked it. I mean, it went on its side and came around, and I'm going,
That's an anomaly.
oh, this is not
yeah.
good,
Oh.
you know? But anyhow,
Anyhow.
it was a smaller aircraft. Anyhow, Councilmember Saraki.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple things. The first thing I want to say is I am so excited about that hockey rink. That is looking great.
That's where he was taking that.
So for the team, the Oldsmar team, the Oldsmar Bolts, I've been getting in shape. I'm getting ready, Al.
That's it.
Al's our leader.
I can see you buffing up
Down
there.
on one knee, you might want to be careful.
I know. The only concern I have is that is one big rink to run around in. We'll see how that goes.
You can play half sides.
Yeah, because that's what I said, because the other rink we played in was a little bit smaller. I want to just talk about the FLC conference. It was the most exciting week I think I've had in my entire life. We had our last municipal administrative committee meeting. We had 67 elected officials in the room. And the mayor mentioned, Eric mentioned that the mayor's council had a meeting, and well, all those mayors showed up to my board meeting, and they basically took over the meeting. And
I, by the way, was not allowed to go because of sunshine. So.
Right. And I wanted you guys to go, but that didn't work out. So, but that's okay. But I wanted to just give you guys what happened. The vote, because of the mayors coming in, they took control of the meeting, and the number one vote was short-term rentals. So that is our legislative priority for the year for 2020. Next year's session is short-term rentals. And basically what that means is we want the local government to be able to have the choice to decide how to legislate short-term rentals. That was number one. Then we voted on 3 policy positions. The first policy position was cybersecurity. As I talked with Al about this, it's a major, major issue in the state of Florida. Tons of stories from elected officials in that board meeting talking about how they've been hacked, how their data has been stolen. They pay a ransom and they get their data back, and it's worthless. So it's a big, big issue, not only in our state, but the whole country. The second item was medical marijuana. We want to talk about the cities being able to make a choice if they want facilities in their local government, in their district, or not. It's the choice of the local government. The state's trying to take that away from us. And the third thing, this item is called smoke-free zones in public parks. We've talked about this for the last 3 years. Some legislation, they don't want it. They want, okay, let's leave smoking in the parks alone. But then there's a group of people that want to ban it because of the kids playing softball, baseball. They don't want anyone smoking in public places. I don't know where that's going to go, but that is our third priority. And then on Friday, I was told I had to, at 1:15 on Friday, I was told I had to attend the nominating committee. And as Linda said, I was voted in by the board of directors for the Florida League of Cities, and I couldn't believe it. Someone just came and said, "You got to go to this meeting right now. You got to be in there." And they announced.
No?
No.
It was a complete surprise?
No, I didn't know. So I went in and they voted me in. I was a total shock. And then Saturday afternoon, I attended my first Florida League of Cities Board of Directors meeting where they officially announced 4 new members of the committee, and it was really, really a exciting day, I have to tell you. And then after that, I went to the pool because my head was going to explode. And I want to just say one thing. I really feel the reason why I was elected to that board is because of our city staff, our city manager, Al, and your hard work, our water plant, our sewer system, our reclaimed water plant, our finance department, all the past leaders, elected officials, from all that. It was a great day, and it truly is because of our city. I'm on that board, and I am proud to represent our city, and that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you. Councilmember Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you to the citizens of Oldsmar, our taxpayers, and our city staff, and my family, who helped ensure that I could also attend the Florida League of Cities conference. It was incredibly educational and fantastic to meet officials from other cities and learn how their respective governments are structured, and learning that really no 2 cities are alike. No 2 cities are run in the same way. No 2 cities finance their operation in the same way. They don't pay their employees in the same way. Everything is completely different. And I guess the breadth of variance was shocking to me. For example, and since you guys are here, I'll mention it. In a particular city, the council members related to me that in their city, the elected council members are the department heads.
What?
I was like,
They own their own department.
I was floored. I was absolutely floored. And they're trying to undergo a charter revision, but to contemplate doing for even a moment, I can't even contemplate it, doing for a moment what some of our department heads do.
Bradenton?
Yes, it was
Isn't that frightening?
Bradenton.
And it's not
that far away.
It's the city of Bradenton. This isn't some little podunk middle of nowhere city. This is the city of Bradenton. So it was very educational for me. One of the other big takeaways that I had was having a one-on-one conversation with council members from the Panhandle, specifically those who were affected by the hurricane, and hearing the harrowing stories of what they went through, how they had to use the Facebook accounts of their neighbors from other cities to relay messages to family and friends that they were indeed safe. First, because everybody's phone was a brick, but on top of that, nobody knows anybody's phone number. So nobody could even tell, residents couldn't tell people who to call. And so all they could do was the folks that came in, from 20, 30 minutes away, an hour away, give them a list of names. Please look them up on Facebook and let them know that I'm okay. And you don't even think about it. And as he was walking away, the man said to me, make sure you check your plan. Check your city's emergency plan. I promise you, you're assuming more than you should. And what he meant by that was that you're assuming that certain things will still exist, whether it be infrastructure or communications, whatever it is. You're assuming more will exist in the event of a catastrophe like what they experienced. God help us. But I thought that was a really poignant kind of moment. And as Dan mentioned, I did attend the meeting where he was officially nominated to the board, and all the resolutions that were considered by the council passed, and with our support and the support of everybody else as well. So, and a happy birthday to Deputy Cindy. Congratulations, Dan. Congratulations to all of our promoted fire rescue folks. Yes, no, she's not here, but I know she's watching at home. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Of course she is.
Of course she is. That's what she's doing on her birthday. Let's see, Vice Mayor.
You were about to
No, I
say it.
have it written here, Vice Mayor. No, I was going to make a comment on something Katie said, but I decided I won't.
Thank you, Mayor. So just a quick relay. The soccer coach in Oldsmar gave me a call to, I think maybe Felicia or Chip might have called him and gave word that the lightning detectors are moving forward in the future budget, and he was really excited and wanted to thank the council and the city staff for making that happen for the kids' safety. So wanted to relay that. And then the only other thing I have is I work with an organization called the Children's Dream Fund. You guys are probably familiar with them. They do a lot of big things in the Tampa Bay area. They're based in St. Pete. And my team with Cisco and Tech Data, we generally sponsor a couple times a year a child on the Children's Dream Fund. And they support children under the age of 17 that have, terminal illnesses, brain trauma injuries, you name it. So it's a great organization. We've done a lot with them. And I asked them for their list of dreams because I always like to sort of, proactively look and see what other kids we can help. And there was a child on the list that lives in Oldsmar. So I asked them for some additional information. I can't share the last name or the address because it's confidential. But she is 3 years old. Her name is Charlotte. And she has a Wilms tumor, which is kidney cancer. And her dream, which is often the younger kids' dreams with the Children's Dream Fund, is a trip to Give Kids the World, which is an organization the Children's Dream Fund partners with in Orlando. It's kind of like a mini Disney, and their family goes and stays and does all these fun things. It's a $4,000 sponsorship. So I thought it would be really great, and I wanted to ask this evening if you got just a consensus, if everyone's in support, that we as a city would potentially sponsor this child's dream. She'll be attending in November. So I thought this was a good time, just with the budget coming up. Al mentioned as long as we add it before the second hearing for the budget, then we should be able to move it forward within the current budget. So just wanted to get your consensus or see your thoughts on that.
Certainly open for discussion. I'm going to tell you that I wouldn't support it.
Okay.
And I know that makes me sound horrible. No. I'm immediately sitting here thinking of who we can call to raise money to fund it.
Sure.
Which would be my preference, only because of some of the discussion we had recently about using taxpayer dollars. And, listen, nobody on this council I can envision would bring something that is not 100%, worth something, I have no doubt of that.
Sure.
But, we've we want to, I think, stay focused on making donations on particular programs that are providing services here in Oldsmar that we as a city that we can't, right? And so that's just kind of my sense on it. I'm happy to let the council chime in, just make a quick comment.
Can I say something, Mayor?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Gabby, now, you said you need $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
Is Cisco putting any money at all, or no?
I didn't even approach Cisco about it just because I felt like, because we do a lot of things with a lot of kids all over Tampa Bay. I rarely see a child in Oldsmar, so I saw that and wanted to take the opportunity.
Well, I would be willing to help get donations.
Great, that would be awesome.
If you would like help, I would help you.
And I think I would definitely help. And I think that this goes to a comment that was made at the meeting, that maybe we should have a fund that is for things that might come up that we all do decide. I mean, this child's in Oldsmar, is she dying? Is it like that kind of thing?
Cancer, I don't know.
Yeah. So, or maybe, if we could sponsor HAP and then all of us get, there's 5 of us get donations to come up with the rest or something. So I would be in favor.
Okay.
But I understand, Eric. I understand. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Regardless of the answer, I am also happy to help. But do you know whether or not the child lives in 34677 Oldsmar or City of Oldsmar?
So I just know 34677 because they're not allowed to share her address.
So they couldn't even tell you a street name?
Yeah. But
good question.
Still close enough, right?
Close enough.
But regardless
Oldsmar,
of that,
yeah.
I echo the sentiments of everybody that it's something that we could all help with.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you. That's all I have.
I'll commit to raise $1,000. Just throw that out there.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll hold you to it.
I know you will.
I'll commit to raise, but I don't want to say how much. I don't want to promise.
I'll throw it out there. I thank you all. I do have some comments. First off, I wanted to just mention the Purple Heart dedication. I don't think we've met since then. No. And what a terrific job everyone did out there in our Veterans Affairs group and our Leisure Services group. It was a first-year event. The dedication was flawless, I thought, other than me falling off the agenda at the end.
You forgot about me. Didn't let me do my part.
I heard. I didn't hear from you, but I heard.
Because they told me, and I said, it's all right.
But I thought that the event went really well. It was a first-year event. I liked the way we had the tent set up. I thought it gave it a little bit more, I don't know, character or something.
It seemed like more people fit too, or something.
So in any event, great work. Certainly congratulations to Jason and Angel. Florida League of Cities, congratulations, Dan.
Mayor.
You know what? You've worked hard for that. You've really invested time, both here in the Suncoast League and over at the Florida League. I am not surprised that they wanted you on their board. And so I know that you will represent the city well.
I love it.
So congratulations. Thank you. I also want to comment, I appreciate the fact that the council made a real effort for us all to be there. You know, we couldn't be there the entire time, but there's a lot of learning opportunities. I know we put a couple of silly faces online. We kind of started that tradition a few years ago. But I'll tell you, we go to a lot of classes. There's a lot of work. And especially if you are working kinda while you're there, going to classes, it's split time. And so I do appreciate it. And I think the citizens appreciate all the extra effort that everyone puts into being there. All right, so let me just comment a little bit about tomorrow's workshop. Considering the action that we took tonight, I would expect the workshop to be relatively short. Just as an FYI, I think we need to allow some things to filter out based on the recent events with the new letters of interest. I will say this, that I expect that during that meeting, I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about kind of the green space and the park area.
Agree.
Because it's going to get kind of messy as we have master developers coming in. And so let's have that conversation while we're there. And of course, we'll get an update and those recommendations on the architectural pattern book, which I think we've all wanted to create that opportunity, okay? I do have one other item. At our last meeting, when we were debating the appointment of Mr. Clark, I owe an apology to Councilmember Norris, and I'll tell you why, because I actually didn't follow the right process and procedure. And normally what I would do is allow everyone to ask a question, not necessarily get in debate, mind you, but ask a question, and then move to debate. And I kind of did a mixture of both, and I asked her to direct her comments not to the applicant, but rather to the council. And then by the time I got over here, I completely did not adhere to that same guidance. And I don't know there was a lot of discussion, but there was some discussion. And so for that, I do apologize.
I accept your apology. Thank you, Eric. Mayor Seidel.
You're welcome. I'm still learning.
I know.
Still learning. Anyhow, that's all I got. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're out of here.